So if I want to isolate rotation of the lower spine, right, I bring the hips into 90 degrees of flexion, right, arms to the side of the body. And what I'm looking for is how far can I rotate the lumbars before I get thoracic compensation. So right about there we get some rotation, right? But now we're looking for, not a great degree, of rotation, 45 degrees of rotation before we start getting compensation. So that's not too bad, right? So we come back up, okay. Grab the knees, going into rotation of the spine, and that one lifts the rib a lot sooner, yeah? When we get that left rib lifting up a little bit sooner. And there we start getting some shoulder. So, if we want to isolate lower lumbar rotation, we utilize the legs for that. If I want an upper thoracic rotation, I grab the arm, I borrow it, I have him grab my wrist. Okay? And so I start by getting scapular protraction on the ribs, so I can assess how much movement I get there, and then I start to engage, and actually if you can drop your legs flat for me. So what I'm looking for is when I start getting spinal rotation through the ribs, how far can I go before that hip lifts up? Pretty darn far. There we get some hip engagement. That's great. I mean, if he's getting that amount of rotation before hip engagement, that's awesome. Let's check the other side. So again, grabbing my wrist, okay? Getting scapular protraction, getting rib engagement. And there's the hip. So it's pretty good. You're going to get a lot of cases where you get rib movement and immediately, like right there, that hip starts to rotate. You want to make sure you get good rotational disassociation. But again, you can look at all the numbers you want, guys. It's 45 degrees of rotation, but again, we're talking about between each individual vertebra. That's very hard to assess. So I'm looking for a global sense of movement, right? Like I just want to get a generally 45 degree range of rib rotation for the upper spine before that hip engages, because now I'm into hip rotation or lumbar rotation. So it's just a general sense, and you'll know when it's bad. I mean, if you get something within that close range, you're good, right? So overall, Josh, the only concern that I felt like I saw was taking him, and now here's the thing to remember, I dropped his knees to his right. I am taking him into left rotation. Because if I take the knees to the right, that's the same as moving the torso to the left. So when I'm dropping his legs this way, I'm assessing right rotation of his, I'm sorry, when I'm taking his legs to the right, I'm assessing left rotation of his torso. I thought he went into his thoracic spine a little too soon. But again, your lumbars don't have a whole lot of range available. So yeah, that's how I would do it passively, right? Isolating lower spine versus isolating upper spine. Okay, and you'll see when it's a real need. A lot of people struggle in transverse spine. A lot of people. Yep.
Lateral flexion?
Lateral flexion. You want to do active?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn simple. How far can they go? I mean, I'm pretty good with it, but what you'll commonly see is something like this.
And that hip will start to lift up.
The hip will start to hike. So then things like QL,
Shallow.
external oblique. Because mine probably went external oblique.
I don't know if we went out. Right there. See?
Yeah, you just buckled in here.
Yeah, that whole hip wants to lift. And I am seriously trying to relax it back down, and I cannot.
So I know it's
This is
not.
like
I know it's not.
glute
I know it's not a
Sure.
technique course. But for instance, like you have somebody limited with that. Like this is a really nice, simple technique. You can hold the leg down, have hand there, and just pin and stretch it. Right. You can use palm, whatever you want to use.
Yep. Just basic seated work, right? Stuff that if you've gotten work from me and Josh, we do all the time, right? Seated work all the time.
Forearm, if you're smaller, just pin it. Let it go. Obviously, it works way better on skin than his shirt because I'm sliding.
But it's in there, it's doing.
Or you don't have to do anything at all. You can say, all right, we're going to go. And you can
Even that's
literally
enough, yeah.
rip them open. I do this with my yoga people that want greater range. I rip them open. I'm like, all right, here we go. It's going to hurt. You want the range? And then I'll put them there and then I'm like, push
But I'm
back.
not a yogi, can I come back?
I'm like, push in, and I'll have them, just like we're doing that stuff, I'm like, push into me. So then they go eccentric. I make them control it and come out of it. And we'll do several
If you want a passive version of that, all you do is you bring the palms to the side of the thigh, reach for the knee. Can you make it to the tibiofemoral joint? Which I can, but you'll notice what I do is I start to shoot that hip out. So the shifting is cheating. So you coming back out, and what I'm really doing is isolating spinal flexion. If I'm doing this, I'm utilizing adduction and abduction to get there, and that's cheating. Right? I need to keep my pelvis centered. So when you see them start to shoot out, they're done. They're no longer in lateral flexion.